So this week in AI was actually pretty packed. A lot of different things dropped from a lot of different companies, and honestly, some of it caught me off guard. Timestamps are in the description, so feel free to jump around. So let's get into it. Starting with Alibaba, because Queen 3.7 Max is the kind of release that makes you look twice at the numbers. Alibaba announced this at their Cloud Summit on May 20th, and the headline feature is a 1 million token context window. To put that in simple words, 1 million tokens means you can paste an entire code repository or hundreds of documents into a single conversation and the model holds all of it. The previous version, Queen 3.6 Max Preview, had 256,000 tokens, so they basically quadrupled it. But here's the thing that actually matters. This model is not just built for chatting, it is built to work on long tasks by itself, calling tools over and over again without you touching it. In Alibaba's internal test, Queen 3.7 Max ran for 35 hours straight and made over 1000 tool calls to improve a piece of code. They say it ended up making that code run 10 times faster. Now, this is Alibaba's own test, so we do not have outside confirmation yet, but that claim alone is why people are paying attention. On the benchmarks, it scored 56.6 on the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index, which puts it at number 5 overall. That is a 4.8 point jump over the last version, which is not small. It jumped ahead of Google's Gemini 3.5 Plus at 55.3. GPT 5.5 still leads at 60.2 and Claude Code 4.7 sits at 57.3. So Alibaba is not at the top yet, but it is closing the gap fast. On humanity's last exam, which is one of the hardest benchmarks with expert level questions, Queen 3.7 Max jumped from 28.9% to 38.1%. On coding, it went from 43.9% to 50.8% on the terminal bench hard test. One thing to be honest about though, on the factual recall test called AA Omniscience, the model actually got more conservative. Raw accuracy dropped from 37.7% to 30.1%, and the attempt rate fell from 67% to 48%. That means it now refuses to answer things it is not confident about rather than guessing. On the positive side, the hallucination rate fell from 44.2% to 22.9%. But if you need a model that always tries to give you an answer, that is worth testing for yourself. The model is still in preview, available through Alibaba Cloud and text only for now. Moving to OpenAI, and they had two separate launches this week that are both pretty interesting. The first, PowerPoint plugin. ChatGPT for PowerPoint is now live as a beta add-in that runs right inside PowerPoint. You connect your OpenAI account and then you can ask it to build a whole presentation from your notes, from a document, from a spreadsheet, or from images. It can also edit existing slides and answer questions about your text structure. Now, here is the funny part. OpenAI themselves, in their own official documentation, told users to save their files before using it, because the plugin might change or delete content if your request is not clear enough. That is a wild thing to write in your own launch announcement. So the advice is pretty simple. Back up your desk first. Be very specific with what you ask it to do and check what changed after each step. It is available across all plan levels from free to enterprise worldwide. Complex formatting and custom fonts are not fully supported yet, but for turning rough notes into a working slide structure, it sounds genuinely useful. The second OpenAI launch is called Appshots, and this one is for people who use Codex on Mac. Appshots basically lets Codex see any window on your screen. You press both command keys at the same time, and whatever app you are looking at gets sent to Codex instantly, along with the text inside it, including content scrolled off screen. So if you have API documentation open or an error message in your terminal, you just press the shortcut and Codex gets it automatically. One small caveat: for services like Google Docs or Gmail, it sometimes only captures what is visible on screen rather than the full document. Still, no copy pasting, no describing what you are looking at for most apps. It works across all plans on Mac. Worth noting that the computer use feature from OpenAI is banned in the EEA, the UK, and Switzerland. But Appshots does not carry those same restrictions. Now, here is where it gets interesting because Cohere just did something that a lot of enterprise AI companies almost never do. They open sourced their best model. Command A Plus is a mixture of experts model with 218 billion total parameters released under the Apache 2.0 license, which means anyone can use it, modify it, and build commercial products with it. Only 25 billion of those parameters are active at any given time, which is exactly why it runs on just two NVIDIA H100 GPUs despite its overall size. On a single Blackwell GPU, it runs two. For enterprise teams that want to self-host a powerful model without spending a fortune on hardware, that is a meaningful number. The benchmark jump over the previous version is hard to ignore. Compared to Command A reasoning, the predecessor, Command A Plus went from 37% to 85% on the agent task test called T2 bench telecom. On coding, it went from 3% to 25% on terminal bench hard. Those are not small improvements. The model supports 48 languages, handles images, has a 128,000 token context window, and the weights are already on Hugging Face in several quantization formats. On the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index, it sits around 37 points, which puts it roughly in the same area as Claude 4.5 Haiku and Gemma 431b. So it is not the very top of the leaderboard, but for a model you can run yourself on your own servers with commercial freedom, that is a compelling package. Stability AI launched something this week that feels a bit under the radar but is actually a big deal for music creators. Stable Audio 3.0 is out and it can generate music tracks up to 6 minutes and 20 seconds long. The previous open version topped out at 47 seconds. Before that, an even earlier model only did 11 seconds. So going to over 6 minutes is a real jump for what is possible with open weight audio models. The model family has 4 versions. The two small models at 459 million parameters each generate up to 2 minutes of audio and can run on smartphones and consumer laptops. The medium model at 1.4 billion parameters does the full 6 minutes 20 seconds and generates it in about 1.3 seconds on high-end hardware. 3 of these 4 versions are fully open and free to download. The largest at 2.7 billion parameters stays API only for high-volume music platforms. The reason Stability AI keeps mentioning licensed data is important here. Right now, Sono and UDO are in the middle of copyright lawsuits because of how their training data was sourced. Emoji's code already found OpenAI responsible for reproducing protected song lyrics in ChatGPT. Stability AI is positioning itself as the clean alternative, having partnered with Universal Music Group and Warner Music Group for licensed training content. For creators who want to use generated audio commercially and not worry about legal risk down the line, that is a genuinely important difference. You own your generated files and can use them commercially if you're under $1 million in annual revenue. Above that, you contact them for enterprise licensing. And lastly, DeepSeek just telegraphed its next move. The Chinese AI company posted job listings for a new team in Beijing called Harness. And the job is to build something called DeepSeek Code. This is their direct answer to Claude Code, OpenAI's Codex, and Cursor. They want to hire people who are already heavy users of those tools. The job listings explicitly ask for experience with agent loops, MCP, multi-agent systems, and context engineering. The thing to understand here is what they mean by harness. A harness is everything around the model itself. The tool use, the planning, the memory, the way it actually gets things done over multiple steps. DeepSeek already has strong models. What they do not have yet is a polished product layer that turns those models into a coding agent. That is what this team is being built to create. They are not launching it yet. This is early hiring, but DeepSeek has a track record of moving fast. And the coding agent market right now is where most of the real money and daily usage is going. Claude Code and Codex are both growing quickly. And adding a well-funded Chinese competitor with access to strong underlying models changes the landscape. So that is where we will wrap it up. 5 different companies, 6 different moves, all in the same week. The one thing that I keep thinking about is what happens when DeepSeek code actually ships. Because the coding agent market is about to get a lot more crowded. Drop your thoughts below, make sure you are subscribed, hit the like button, and I will see you in the next one.